Hey, let's take a look at Microsoft. It's been about 10 days since we last checked in. The price going from 319 up to now 328. So let's just start off with the news. What's actually been going on with the company in this time period? And then pivot into the technical analysis just to see, is now a good time to pick this up, technically speaking? So to start off, Google criticizes proposed patent office policy changes, citing AI tech. And so we took a little note here saying that Google's claiming it will bottleneck innovation. That's the current policy changes, as it's currently too broad. This is bad if a small company comes out with a new AI tool, because due to the broadness of the current trademark agreement, a company like Google couldn't necessarily build upon the base idea without infringing on these copyright rules. So we'll see how that plays out. We're going to touch on that soon. Google also is vowing more transparency on ads as new EU rules kick in. And so this rule, again, it's mainly on ads, but Microsoft got rolled into this too. Not sure how much of an impact that will have on this company, but Microsoft was included in this, and they have other EU type issues that we're going to bring up too. And so, going back to that patent office, the AI tech, the U.S. Senate's Schumer is going to host an AI forum, and it's going to bring in all these AI guys, Microsoft CEOs included, and they're going to be discussing the AI policy that needs to be established and the nuances of this new technology. And that's going to be on the 13th, so about a week and a half away. We'll see what kind of developments happen and if this patent office changes its policies in kind of connection with that forum. We also have Google. There's a lot of crossover here. Google's unveiling an AI tools for enterprise customers at $30 a month. So Google made its artificial intelligence powered tools available to enterprise customers at a monthly price of $30 per user. The price is the same as Microsoft's Copilot AI powered Office software suite. We'll see what kind of wins, if it's like a 50-50 split in this market. Uh, Too early to tell, but clearly these two are in very big competition between this AI powered tool enterprise customer system. We also have Microsoft moving dirt in Mount Pleasant. This is familiar to, I think we mentioned this with Apple potentially, or there's a company, if not two, moving to Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin. And they selected a lead builder for this $1 billion data center. This is right next to Foxconn's new facility. Uh, Potentially a good investment there for Microsoft or for housing. Just an idea. Here we also have Microsoft to unbundle Teams from Office as it seeks to avert EU antitrust fine. So we mentioned how they were, I guess, in a little bit of trouble with the EU. This is the other piece that I was kind of foreshadowing. The changes seek to address two EU concerns, and this is coming from their Vice President for European Government Affairs, Microsoft's Vice President of European Government Affairs. So the EU, she claims the EU is seeking to alleviate two concerns. Customers should be able to choose a business suite without Teams at a price less than those with Teams included, and that we should do more to make interoperability easier between rival communication and collaboration solutions and Microsoft Office and 365 suites. So, kind of an interesting thing to unpack there. Basically, to me, it seems like they're saying, Microsoft, you have a too good of a product at too good of a price. Um, I don't know if it mentions it. They do bring up Slack, so that's kind of one of the big competitors in terms of Microsoft Teams specific. And that's kind of what's happening here is Microsoft has this Teams and it's so good, and because they're rolling it with a package that so many people use, which is that Office 365, Slack just cannot get customers. That, at least that's how I'm reading it. Slack and other type competitors. Why would someone get a different version of Teams when it's already included in Office 365? And so EU is saying, hey, you need to break that out. And it looks like Microsoft is going to do that. And then on top of that, the EU also wants Microsoft to basically update their internal system so that it can incorporate with other external systems in order to help this antitrust fine. And Microsoft is going to do it. It's kind of crazy to think Microsoft's product was so good that not only do they have to break it apart in order for competition to maybe kind of take some market share, but then Microsoft also has to make it compatible, because it wouldn't really necessarily be compatible unless they themselves make fixes to help the competition. Because, again, most people are probably going to still buy Office 365 whether they include Teams or not. So we'll see how this plays out. Microsoft's solution, they're doing this on their own before the judgment, but effective October 1st, these changes will apply in the EU and Switzerland. Microsoft's core enterprise customers will be permitted to switch to versions of Office that excludes Teams at a price of €2 per month cheaper than with Teams. New enterprise customers can buy Teams standalone and separately for €5 per month. Microsoft will also develop a new method for hosting the Office web applications within competing apps and services, similar to what it does with Teams. Rivals say Microsoft's offer, as it stands, would unlikely win over the EU antitrust watchdog. That's surprising. It seems like, at least on paper, Microsoft is doing what EU wants it to do, and yet whoever Rivals is, I assume it would be Slack in this case, or I'm not sure who is kind of denying it, but it seems like this on paper would be enough to satisfy that. We'll see how it goes, but that's kind of their plan. They're going to do this on their own. I don't remember seeing when an official judgment date's going to come out on this, but it sounds like it's going to be soon, and we'll just see how it plays out. See if they can avoid a fine here. But very interesting. And again, that's just for, like I said, EU and Switzerland. And the last thing as we pivot into the technical analysis is OpenAI launches a business version of ChatGPT that competes with Microsoft. And OpenAI, that might sound familiar because Microsoft has invested, I believe, $10 billion into this company. And so I'm viewing it as a way for Microsoft with OpenAI to explore new concepts, where OpenAI will, again, have this competing version, but would have little additional features potentially, where Microsoft really kind of gets to pick and choose, this is a great concept, a great idea that OpenAI is doing. Customers seem to like OpenAI's X feature. Well, Microsoft, because they're kind of working together here, can now say, okay, let me cherry pick that good feature and just roll it into my business concept, my business version of ChatGPT. But again, we'll see how this plays out. I think in the beginning days it clearly is viewed as competition, but I think there's going to be kind of like a collaboration there. But of course, we will see how this kind of evolves over time. And so now, as we kind of shift into the technicals, I like to look at what the analysts are saying. We pulled this back on 8/24, so about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. No noticeable change. I think revenue for the full year moved up slightly to like 235.232 or something. But yeah, nothing really changed in terms of earnings per share estimates, revenue this quarter, next quarter. And then here at the bottom, this is where we last left Microsoft. It was trading at around $3.19, as we mentioned at the top of the show. we did pick this one up. We liked that point. We had a buy point of 316. So to catch it around 319, I felt that was close enough to pick this one up. It was in a short-term uptrend since January. A lot of these companies have been in that type of trend. We were looking to buy the dips. This was a dip in our eyes. We also noted that it might have broken the uptrend. So let's just pivot into what's the chart looking like. And so we did make a couple updates here. As far as the purple line, I believe all we did is it was actually up higher, and we pulled it down a little bit so it expands the whole uptrend range. And we did that because when we noticed this dip below this green line, we kind of thought it would stop a little bit sooner, potentially here at this previous bottom. And here it pulled it back a little further at what we saw was slight support at around 316, hence why we felt comfortable to pick it up at around 319. That 316, that's really coming from, if we look in the past a little bit, when it was at this level before in late 2021, it got rejected around the 344 mark where its current all-time highs are. It pulled back, and for whatever reason, it kind of caught itself around 316 back here in December of 2021. And for whatever reason, it kind of did that again. We noticed that, we drew it in, and it happened to bounce there. Now, there's a couple things also happening is just like we shifted that purple line down to kind of incorporate this low with the new dip that happened during this uptrend, we also expanded the potential downtrend that was happening. We had these yellow lines in here, yellow-orange lines in here, and now that it's kind of seeming to rebound, we just pushed this up a little bit, not going too crazy, but keeping it within reason. And so right now, that's kind of it's an inflection point to some degree. And this is kind of similar to Apple, where this stock might act in one of three ways. We have, it's not too far out of range that it could pop right back into that uptrend range. Just to get back into it, it would need to, number one, meet new all-time highs at around like 350. So it's not too far away from that. That's definitely a possibility. Option two is it's now going to take a step down, and maybe it'll trade between the purple and green line for a little bit. That is scenario two. And scenario three, maybe it'll just trade sideways for a little while. And the kind of projected range of that would be between about 316 and maybe 333, maybe 344, right between this really light green line in here and this blue and red line right above it. And so you can see we're right at that cross point. And in terms of if it were to trade sideways, kind of in the middle of that too. So the way I'm treating it is I'm viewing it as like a fair value type thing, given the different scenarios that could play out. It all just depends on what you see this company doing, especially this quarter and next quarter. And so if we believe this uptrend is going to continue on, and I am on that side, I think it's definitely worth picking this up if hypothetically, and I think we actually did this one very well in the fact that when it hit this dip point at around like 330, we picked it up there. And then, as we mentioned earlier, when it hit around 316, in our case around like 319, 320, we picked it up at this dip point because we noticed that support, and now it's traveling up again. So I think there's definitely a case that if hypothetically we didn't pick it up here, I would definitely consider picking it up again. But because we did here, we also picked up at this dip. The case for me picking it up would be this uptrend's still continuing, and we're now at the very bottom of that range. So I think for me personally, I'd like to see a couple more data points before picking up another block of this company, another share or two of this. I'd like to see that this uptrend continues on because, again, we're right in the middle of multiple scenarios. We could potentially get rejected and pull down further, maybe to 316 again, maybe to 303, maybe it'll trend down lower. I don't believe that's the highest scenario. I think if anything, we might just trade sideways with now an expanded range, dipping down to the purple. We might update it so that the purple becomes our new green line, which is a buy point. The current green uptrend line would turn to a blue, meaning like a fair value, and then red would stay the same as resistance. Overall, I would say if we hadn't picked this one up, again, like I said, at around 330 during the dip, and also at 316, 320, if we hadn't picked it up at either of those spots, I would pick this up because, again, we're at the bottom of the uptrend, and we're kind of in the middle of a sideways consolidation potential scenario. I guess for me, I'm playing it as its fair value. Again, I'd like to see a couple more data points, and yeah, we'll just play it like that. So I feel like we have a decent chunk of our portfolio in Microsoft, and that's why I'm playing it this way. And I do realize that there's a chance that we're going to circle back on this one in maybe a week or two, see that uptrend has kind of continued, and it might be at, say, like 337 in a couple weeks, and it would still be at the bottom, that higher price, but the data kind of shows me it's still at the bottom of the uptrend. Yeah, we'll just play it that way. I guess I'd be more confident in picking this one up because there's not really bad news around it in terms of market growth, sales growth, revenue growth. But I don't know. That's just kind of how I'm seeing it. So just to quickly summarize, yeah, I'm giving this one fair value, but I'm definitely leaning towards a buy, if that makes sense. I'd be more inclined to pick this one up, even though it's kind of in an inflection point compared to other companies. But yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Currently, I'm still thinking a buy point would be 316. If it pulls down to that region again, yeah, I'd scoop this one up. Resistance at around 344, which is all-time highs roughly. That short-term uptrend since January by the dips. Technically, this is a dip. So I would say, again, because we played this one very well, we bought it at 2 points in the dip. I'm comfortable letting this one kind of be for now. But if we hadn't played it like we did and we missed the first and second dip points, I probably would pick this one up just to kind of make up for the missed opportunity. But that's me. We may have broken that uptrend. Of course, we're going to see how it plays out. It could just be a correction and we're going to continue this uptrend. I think that's kind of the more likely scenario, but let me know what you think about that. And yeah, if you have any questions or comments, let me know down below. Otherwise, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.